Welcome to the podcast series Leadership Challenges with Headhunter Anke Janssen and business leader Domenico Traverso, who are debating how the working landscape is transforming. Today's episode is about going beyond empowerment and specifically about self-managed organization in a corporate environment. Enjoy the show.
Welcome. My name is Anke Janssen. I'm a partner at August Leadership, a global executive search firm. And I'm a headhunter now for, time is running, more than 15 years. And I'm dealing, on a daily basis with leadership challenges, company transformations. And I hear a lot about business successes and leaders telling me about their successes. With me in the studio is Domenico Traverso. He is the president of a global division at Danfoss. Domenico, hello.
Hi Anke.
So how are you?
Hi, good.
Tell us a little bit about your background before I then go into our topic.
Yeah, sure. I've been also a business leader for several years because I ran my first company when I was 27, my first industrial company and so on. I started my career mostly in turnarounds. So I was working with businesses like loss-making units or loss-making businesses, but still in a corporate environment. And so it was about turning around and making them profitable, growing, and so on. But in the last years, I've been working with developing a division at Danfoss. So it was already a very healthy and successful business, but we made it even more successful, more healthy, more innovative. And now I have 4 business units. 3 are more traditional, industrial, with we make power steering for tractors and or hydraulic motors, or very mechanical, heavy industrial parts. We serve companies like Caterpillar, John Deere, so very heavy stuff. Mm-hmm. And then we have also one business unit which is self-managed, and is very innovative, and where we make still a steering solution, but more for self-guided vehicles or GPS-guided vehicles and so on. So there's a lot of electronic and software.
Yeah, and here we are right now with our topic today, self-managing organizations. And Domenico, I'm pretty sure you soon will talk to me a lot about agility and empowerment and digitalization, I'm sure. But before we go into this, first tell me, Danfoss has 27,000 employees globally. It's a big firm, and as far as I know, quite traditionally structured. And here we have something called a self-managed organization. How is this going to, how did you set that up actually, first of all, and why?
So the day we really say, we got to do something totally different was the day that one engineer came to my office, and as an engineer, I knew the face. I was 1 year in that division at the time, so I didn't know everybody. The division was already like 1,400 people, so it's a lot of people to know. I knew the face, but I didn't know the person. I didn't know him like in person. I didn't talk to him before. And there was this engineer that came to my office and told me, I know that you have this open door or policy that you are happy to talk to anybody. And I say, really, I'm absolutely happy to talk to anybody. So can we talk? And I say, yeah, of course. Yeah. So I carve out some time, and we talk. And he came to my office with a big paper, but really, literally a huge paper. And he put it on my table and told me, okay, those are like 8 ideas, 8 projects that I have. And I presented to my boss.
Oh, 8 innovations.
8 innovations,
okay.
8 ways to do faster, better, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yes.
And he told me none of those ideas was even considered. And I was told more than once, nice ideas, but you've got your work to do. So you do your part, we do our part, and then that's the way it works. But I still think those ideas are very good. And I was not technically prepared to judge if the ideas were good or not. But I kind of felt that was wrong.
Yeah.
So I took the discussion to the leadership team, and actually, there were several levels. From this guy to me and to my leadership team, there was like 4 levels.
Okay.
And so there were the boss and the boss of his boss and so on. And then we realized, we said we will never hear about those ideas. And those was a brave engineer that decided really to step up and come to the office. How many engineers we have that don't step up? How many ideas that could make us run faster we don't use? And that's the day we made the decision that the first decision was we will carve out totally this project from everything else. So we will have only fully dedicated people doing the things.
Okay.
So from all functions, so engineers, procurement, sales, everything, we will make a dedicated team. So basically we will create a unit in the unit. It was part of the business unit steering at the time. We'll make a unit in the unit which is only making this, we call it electric door steering, which is this GPS auto guidance solution.
So you basically created an own organization within Danfoss.
Exactly.
Which with a different culture, I understand. With a very different leadership approach.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what is the difference? How does it work? I mean, it's just obviously.
Because the first step was to carve it out. The second step was to decide how do we organize this thing. We could have, even with that carve out organization, we could have make a hierarchy and 3 level and so on. Like a small meeting, a small team. You make it fully focused is already an advantage.
Yes.
But then we say, okay, we want to go beyond that part. We want really to spark the innovation. And the idea was to start having an organization which was actually without hierarchy, so without level. So we have at the beginning,
like no boss,
25 persons.
Simple words.
No boss, no supervisor, and so on. But working by project, because at the end, once you carve out the people, then you see really the people naturally work together depending on what they know how to do it. And they already know what to do, they know where to focus, they know how to run the project and so on. In our case, actually, they were all very competent engineers. They knew exactly what to do. The fact to stop and report back to someone what they were doing, it was just an additional job.
So then the change was formally...
was formally made 1 year later.
One year later. So what happened then? I mean, you said there was kind of a... People felt a bit uncomfortable. Why was this? Was this because there was full transparency? I once read that full transparency can also be perceived as control, extra control. When you are extremely transparent and democratic, if that makes sense, because you're so visible, you cannot hide behind a hierarchy. But what was really the challenge?
In my view, was what we didn't do so well at the time, because it was something totally new for us as well. It was the change management piece. So we really didn't plan the changes and communicate the changes and transition one change after the other. We assume everybody was fine with the organization. And then we implemented the change like, okay, now we have done 1 year of this. We have been working so well. Now let's formalize it, remove the job titles, change organization in the system. So if you search yourself now, all e-steering, the name of the business unit, now is a business unit, is a proper business unit. Everybody, as all employees in e-steering, they are at the same level, regardless of the job they do. So the intern and the guy with 25 years experience are on the same level.
So what makes that with people? How is retention looking?
Yeah, and there was this moment of change. So during the transition, and especially where we didn't do so well with the change management piece, we lost some people. And also we realized that some person did not like the thinking of a job, of a role, but they expressed a desire to find a different job.
Within Danfoss?
Within Danfoss,
You
yes.
attracted people from Danfoss into the new organization, or did you need to hire from external?
A few. I would say really most of the new hires were from outside.
Yes.
And that was the moment of change. So we lost the people that didn't like this working style. We remain, most of the people stays and actually embrace it and they really love it today. We basically start running back and do all the change management we didn't do before. We do it later. We also hire consultant to help us really to design the processes, because once you remove the organization, you need to make even more processes to explain everybody. It has to be crystal clear how do you do everything. because otherwise you don't have a boss to tell you. So everybody has to know it, and that's is a very different approach. So we redesign all the processes within e-steering and how the company works. How do we do things? How do we approve things? How do we approve investment? How do we approve everything? And once the processes were implemented and executed and understood, and of course the team was part of designing those processes, everything started to work much better. And then the crisis disappeared, I would say. And then we started auto recruiting because the business was keep growing much more than before, and also the profitability increased tremendously, almost double in 6 years, basically in 5 years, if you consider when it was traditional before and where it is now.
So when you are in the self-managed organization without job title and hierarchy, I mean, of course, there are KPIs, you need to deliver results. Absolutely. How does it work? I mean, how does the decision-making process is going to happen? And
the decisions are made in team. Actually, at the end, all self-managed organization in general, there are several models, but all models include the fact that you have kind of circles, right? Small organizations, small teams of 4, 5, 6, and then which create together a bigger team. And usually the decisions are made in the team. And I would say, and it works pretty smoothly. I mean, there are also processes to resolve conflicts, for instance, but I don't see really that the conflicts are happening so frequently. If I have to compare, the e-steering team thinks they have a lot of conflicts. But if I have to compare, now that I have the privileged view of having the traditional business unit and the e-steering business unit, I almost see really there are more conflict in the traditional environment than in the non-traditional environment. Also because in the traditional environment, you also have all the conflicts that you're grumping with your boss, or you kind of accept the decision on someone else and so on, or you think what we are doing is really wrong, but I'm going to do it and so on. Whether in that case they speak up more. If I have employees meeting or meeting with the team, I try to have it as more as I can. And when I have meeting with the traditional organization, traditional part of my organization, we are very open. We try to have a dialogue, but still there is more respect, or there's more like, maybe I make you the question if it's anonymous. Otherwise, really, I make you, I don't want to expose myself too much. In e-steering, sometimes they're brutal. So they really tell you what they think. They challenge me. Sometimes as a joke, I can say it as a joke. Sometimes I make the mistake to tell them really, what do you think we should do different? What is anything you can advise me to anybody in the team? Just sometimes I sit there and I ask people that come to say hello. Really, what do you think we should do different? And they will tell you, okay, there's no danger of, no, it's fine. Exactly. I'm good. You have a good day and great weekend. No, there's but the same question. If I'm sitting in the same place, and the difference, I can feel the difference.
Okay, fine. So you have an open feedback culture to also make sure that people who are more introvert. But now, look, this is a very successul project. Yeah, with a learning curve, which is great because lots of others can learn from that. And because this is so successful, I'm just wondering, why isn't the whole of Danfoss adopting this?
We learn from that experience. We say, what did we miss? What was the problem? And it's not easy, of course, to change from, first of all, from people that is 20 years working in a certain way and then transitioning into the other way. It's a delicate process. It's much easier to hire people for the purpose so that they already embrace the idea and the culture. And also, it's not a black or white thing. That's the other thing we learn. We learn e-steering is good, but we can apply many of the processes in e-steering without changing completely the organization. So that means also that we can leverage better the organization that we have of people with the long-term employees, which are super valuable, super important in the company. They don't need to feel discomfort out of their comfort area because we completely change the environment around them. But we can apply many of the agile processes
to improve decision making.
To improve the decision making, we can empower more the people. We can let them more decide autonomously without necessarily everywhere cutting off the job titles and organization, and then let more the gradual transformation happens.
Maybe it's also a question of scale. No? How big is e-steering now? How many people are there now?
I mean, all in all, you can say you have, in terms of non-production people, you have about 70 people all in all.
Yeah.
And then you will have maybe another 50 people in production. Yeah, something like that. But it's a 60 million euros business already, growing at 20% compound growth rate. So it will be soon 100 million euros. So it's not that small, actually. And,
no, but apply it, let's say, to a business unit with thousands.
Well,
obviously, that's a different matter.
I'm
thinking about this because the question will be also around underperformance, overperformance, recognition. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, there is... First of all, in e-steering there is an uncle circle, which is a circle of most senior people or people that is simply elected by the team, which is like 4 or 5 people that they also discuss about those things and so on. And if they see somebody that is overperforming and so on, they can come with recommendation. That's what the way also they do, I don't know, salary increase and so on, right? They come and say, really, okay, we decided we want to increase the salary to that person and so on, and then we do it.
Okay, so let me just check this out. So the team decides who will have an increase in the salary.
They decide internally.
Wow, that's very transparent.
Yeah. They don't know that we one of the thing we haven't implemented yet, which is actually in many self-managed companies available, but not in e-steering for now, is that we don't have a transparency on the salary. So they don't know the salary of everybody, doesn't know the salary of everybody. Whether many other self-managed companies, they have all salaries from the top to the bottom published. So that's we are not there yet.
What was the biggest conflict? We are discussing a little bit about crisis, about learning. You made it a success, but what was the biggest, or is the biggest conflict to come about?
I think the more than conflict is the biggest frustration, I think.
Okay.
The frustration is when you are a self-managed organization and you think you can do whatever you want, of course, because you are self-managed.
Yeah.
But then you clash with your owner or your shareholder needs or requirement. And this is coming often, and the frustration comes often for recruitment, for instance. So they want to recruit 10 people, and 10 people in that environment, it will be like €1 million. And then, but to spend €1 million, they can decide internally that they want it, but still, like all startups or all companies in the world, either you have an owner or you have a shareholder or you have a venture capital or you have something. So also in their case, really, they need to raise the money, right? And if they want to raise the money, they need to ask for this €1 million. And then when the shareholder, which is us in the case, we say, really, not now, we need to postpone. And then this is where the conflict starts, because in their mindset, it's not acceptable that if they have a strong need or that they believe it is the right thing to do to hire 10 engineers, then the company behind say, really, but not now. And maybe it's not that we say not now. We say not now for this specific reason. But in that case, it may not be enough. And that's where the frustration comes. So there's always a limit to the freedom.
There is a big learning, we heard. The journey can be tough. It's not easy. Yeah. You need to be really resilient and determined to take that on. Nevertheless, if you go that journey, big success in terms of revenue, profitability, and also it seems the employees, the retention rate seems to be okay it's now, I understand.
Very good.
Which is great. Yeah. So fantastic concept. The only question here remains that, why aren't there more clusters at Danfoss using this concept? This question we haven't really answered here.
And I think it will come. Yeah? I think and at the moment, as I say, we're using the concept in some area, but it will come. I think I can see that in the time we will use more and more this learning and this concept, the processes, maybe even the full scale self-management, or even just a non-hierarchical organization. Yeah. And you see, every time you succeed in removing a layer, you increase efficiency.
Which brings also very different skill sets and challenges to leaders.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it? Just a word on this here, because you have led that change. You have told us now, yes, there are a circle of teams, but still there's some kind of leader, coming out in a democratic process from the team. But still, there is a certain demands on leaders within these types of organizations. More kind of in bullet point style, and when you think about it, what kind of attributes and skills are necessary to be successful in such an organization?
Yeah, this is a very good question. Yeah, first of all, I think one of the key attributes that you need to have is that you need to like the innovation in general, or you need the working in an agile environment. So you need not to be someone that likes to work in his office and do their own stuff. They have time, of course, they work alone, but in principle you need to like to work with somebody, to collaborate. If we do this thing, we do it together. That's something. This is an attribute. It's a fundamental. Whatever level you are, how many years of experience you have. And another thing is that, like it or not, there's many people that are still have a strong status orientation. So the status is very, very important for them. It's part of their identity. And this is not. I'm not saying this as a critic, because it's, for many of us, is that if you start removing your job title or your level in the organization, if it's not visible anymore where you are in the ranking, it's
also safety. I mean, if you have a hierarchy, it tells something internally and externally about where you stand.
Where you stand, exactly.
Right?
And if for you these things is so, for everybody is important, but if for you it's so important that removing that part, remove a piece of your identity, that kind of organization is not right for you.
So what I understand now from you is the attributes important are obviously collaboration. You need to be able to work with full transparency. And from what I'm hearing now is, in terms of leadership skills, you need to be able and comfortable to be a servant leader. Any autocratic styles will obviously not work in this environment. I think it's a very democratic servant leadership style, collaborative in the team. Is that right?
Yeah, I think to some extent, yes. I think you can succeed and you can be happy also being a leader, not just being a team player, but also having a leadership, presence. Is more about I think you need to have a level of confidence, and your leadership shouldn't be attached to some more formal external recognition. So you need to be confident enough that you feel that your leadership is who you are, but it's not because you have that label on the jacket. Yeah, you meet a friend, and then you are with another colleague from another part of the company, and say, really, what do you do? And then you will tell, I'm a director of engineering in this part of the company. What do you do? And then the confident Eastern person will tell you, really, I'm transforming a way of driving mobile equipment. So that is more like, so I'm creating autonomous equipment. They're more part of the project, and that's the difference.
Question for you now, after we discussed this concept here, this engineer who came into your office and kicked off this process with his ideas, is he still within the team?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question.
Okay, I think I know the answer.
You always make the tricky questions. No, actually, I think is totally part of the story, and I totally love the guy, and which is really, really a very innovative person. But still, he's not anymore in history. He was one of the person that when we formalize, so when we have the moment of challenge in the organization, and we formalize the transformation of steering into a business unit, but also into a self-managed organization with no hierarchy, no job titles, and everything. He was the one that said, "No thanks, that's not for me. Mm-hmm. I'm a director. I want to be a director." And he continues his career. He's a super smart guy. he continued his career in Danfoss, but not in steering.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much, Domenico. What a pleasure to discussing this. It could go on for ages.
Yeah,
of course. Now
yeah,
I have
of
so
course.
many questions, but the learning I take away that, as I said, it's a journey, but it's very worthwhile to go, to do this journey, to have this concept within an organization, because I also understand there are quite a few concepts which has been now implemented into Danfoss.
Absolutely.
When it comes to decision-making processes, innovation, creativity, agility. I know these are buzzwords, exactly as I said at the beginning, but at the end, if you implement that and if people live these buzzwords, you can have a lot of empowerment within an organization.
Absolutely.
And that would make it a really great workplace, a place to be. So fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you. It was very good. It's always happy to discuss about those things. Yeah, I could talk for hours.
Yeah, and
thank you so much.
Sure, I have a lot of other tricky questions, but let's do that the next time.
Thank you, Anke.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.